The morning sun painted soft hues across the room as Ryan slowly stirred awake in Jungkook's arms. His steady heartbeat served as a comforting lullaby, and as she opened her eyes, she found herself captivated by the warmth in his gaze. Ryan, good morning, she whispered, stretched a little, and snuggled back in his warm embrace. Such a beautiful morning, such a beautiful view. Jungkook smiled, his fingers tracing gentle patterns on her arm. Jungkook, morning love. Slept well? Ryan, mmm, like a dream. Jungkook pressed a tender kiss to her forehead, reveling in the tranquility of the moment. Ryan, let's sleep a little more. I'm too comfortable to get up now. Jungkook agreed, but she didn't sleep. She loved how he looked in the morning. Messy hair, soft skin, husky voice, and drunk eyes. God, she loved it. Later in the kitchen, the aroma of coffee filled the air as Jungkook prepared breakfast. Ryan leaned against the counter, watching him with a smile. Ryan, what's on the menu today? Chef Jungkook. He might be really strict towards the word, but with her, he was one domestic husband who would do everything to spoil her. Jungkook, how about pancakes? With a side of love, of course. The two cringed at the cheesiness it reflected, yet continued with it. Ryan, you're such a romantic. Jungkook, only for you. She chuckled and he fed her with a bite of the meal he was preparing to confirm the taste. Ryan, I never knew you were such a pro in the kitchen. Jungkook, there's a lot you don't know about me, Mrs. Jones. Ryan, care to enlighten me? Jungkook, maybe over a lifetime of breakfast. Their laughter echoed in the cozy kitchen. He served the food in the plates and while helped setting the table. The two had breakfast while discussing about the few daily things as Jungkook later on left to his office. Jungkook had a past, which Ryan knew about, a childhood friend he adored a lot. Both of them grew together in school and later on high school as well. Her name was Emma. She was the only girl friend Jungkook had. The rest were all boys. He truly cared for her. Yet the two had an understanding between them, a mutual agreement that they won't ever cross the limit of friendship. He never had any physical attraction towards her. Emma left for New York 3 years ago for higher education, and Jungkook found Wine. Wine was that one lady he was truly attracted towards, physically and emotionally. The one who was able to touch his heart and mess with the strings. He fell in love with her and married her. Emma recently returned to Korea, and the first thing she found was Jungkook's wedding. Wine was in the garden when suddenly an intruder entered the home. The guards probably knew her to let her in. One look and Wine remembered her from the pictures Jungkook shown her of his friend. Emma. Oh, so, you're Wine? Wine's polite expressions fell a little at the voice, filled with hatred. If anything, she didn't expect to meet his friend for the first time like this. Wine. Yes. And you are Emma, right? Jungkook told me about you. Emma. Oh, at least he remembered me enough to tell me to his wife. Wine. You seem angry. She kept her polite tone. But when Emma looked at her with those rage-filled eyes that could murder any moment, it somehow concerned Wine enough to take a step back. Emma. He can't marry you. Hell, he didn't even tell that he's marrying. Do you know how it feels? Wine persuaded her lips. She didn't know how to handle an angry woman. Wine. Come inside. Have a seat. I'll call him. Emma. As if I can't do it myself. Her hands shook out of anger. The more she looked at Wine, the more it drove her insane. She marched inside the home she was felt familiar with. The nostalgia hit her senses, making her dizzy for a moment. How much, how badly she wanted him to look at her once with those eyes of a lover and touch her like she meant everything to him. She left to New York, thinking, maybe, if she stand on her own feet, then he would finally consider her. He might have took a commitment from her to never think about him in a romantic way. But what about her heart? It was not ready to listen. It wanted him, and only him. Her eyes fell on the picture frames of Jungkook and Ryan, roaming around the world, laughing, kissing, making out. Everything messed with her brain and her senses. She heard Ryan calling Jungkook in the background somewhere. Her eyes filled up with worry as they fell on the knife in the fruit basket placed on the table. Ryan, I called Jungkook. He said he'll be back soon. Emma, stop it. Ryan, excuse me? Emma turned, grabbed the knife, and tightened her grip around it. Emma, stop taking his name from your dirty mouth. She yelled, and Ryan subconsciously stepped back. Ryan, Emma, what are you doing? Emma, how dare you? Take him away from me. How dare you? He was mine to love, mine to touch, mine to kiss. How dare you? Ryan, guards! Ryan yelled, and before she could even blink, she felt a piercing pain that shot up her body. The blow was too strong, it drew her out of her breath. Every part of her body hurt. Her knees buckled. As she looked down, she held a knife dug deep inside of her. The blood surrounding it was no one's but her own. She fell on her knees, energy escaping her body, like it was her soul. With blurry vision, she saw guards pushing Emma away. She was held back by someone. It was blur, too blur, but maybe it was a guard who had to tackle her with force because she was going crazy. She was held by someone too, maybe mates. She couldn't make out. Her eyes slowly started to close on their own. All she wanted was to feel those warm hands on her, to hold her and bring her out of this pain. Those big, rough hands who sworn to protect her. She knew he could save her, only he. But he never came. Her vision started getting dark and darker, but he never came. She never felt those hands. She never heard his voice. To be continued.